All right, everyone. Next week is going to be absolutely huge, especially given the market close that we got. When we look at the Qs, when we look at SPY, we'll also talk about IWM and the outperformance that we got. We have reasons that we should absolutely be excited, and we possibly potentially have a reason to be a little bit fearful of what could come from a technical signal. I'll share that with you in this video. I'll also talk about the crypto market that we have. And by the way, the coupon codes have been refreshed for the Discord and the Stock Moe Academy links. I'll tell you about those later, and I'll tell you the Discord, super exciting place to be, especially as we start to climb up throughout the market here and we head on towards those all-time highs. Without further ado, let's take a look at QQQ and talk about how we're positioned right now. So on the screen in front of you right now, let's put them up here about middle of the screen for you. Back here is the high that we got back on December the 16th, the new all-time high price that we peaked out on February the 19th. And then how do we compare to that today? Well, we'll grab our ruler and we'll find today's close, which happened to be, let me see, the close was at 521.51. So we'll click there and then we'll go over here to that peak that we had, where we are just barely over 3.5% from the all-time high in QQQ, which tracks the NASDAQ 100. And so that's going to be very, very comparable to what we have for the index. So just about 3.5% away from that all-time high is pretty exciting. And I got to tell you what, there's still some reasons to be a little bit skeptical out there, but I said without any sort of news pushing us in the other direction, the general direction is going to be up. And that's what we've gotten throughout this entire week. And next week, we might be able to see the same thing. Now, mind you, there's an important thing that happens above this blue line that's on your screen. Let me put this up here for you and give these a moment to adjust for us, because when they do, there we go, they're the final one snapped in place. This line going right across the middle of your screen, right across this peak. And then these lines in here, right in between them, from this dotted line to this dotted line that's up here, this is a sell pressure area, and we're just now getting into it. You can actually see it best if we go out to the monthly chart. There we go. And let me actually go back to daily for just a quick moment. We're going to grab this line, and we're going to grab this line, and we're going to adjust the visibility so that you can also see it on the monthly chart, because it's going to be important to us to also see it there as well. So now back out to the monthly chart. Now they show up for us. And what we see are the three wicks. As a matter of fact, right here is the only body candle. So in January of this month, we closed at 521.51. Where did we close today, my friends? When you look at this, we closed at 521.51 to the exact penny of where we closed at in January, which means if we sell or if we trade above this line or between these two lines, we are in that sell pressure territory that we saw in December, January, February. So I can see the market being a little bit nervous in next week, but as we get in there, I think it's time to be a little bit careful about what we see. That last 3.5%, it could potentially make us work for it. Good tariff news, of course, is going to be very welcome for us. We don't really have any major labor market news. We don't have any major inflation news all this upcoming week, but we do have GDP, we do have personal income and outlays, we do have just a whole bunch of news coming for us in the final week of May. So I think this next week could be good. The week after that, I think, is where we might start to see some of that sell pressure, some of that high wick stuff come in for us. And like I said, this is a monthly chart here that we're looking at. That's what we have to look forward to. Now, there is a little subtle difference. Let me see if I can bring this up here for you. Click on this, and let's see if we can send it up to the top where it's the biggest chart. There we go, and find the line between them. Right here's the RSI. Look at this green part up here. When we had those wicks before, we were in overbought territory as per the monthly chart. We are now down below 70. We are in bullish territory, being rightly at 67, rising momentum as we enter next week. We could have an all-time high or a retest of the all-time high coming in next week for the Qs. I think that's pretty exciting. So I'll take a moment and we'll see if, let me know down in the comments. Just pause the video, let me know down in the comments. Are you excited about this too? I know that I am. Can't wait to see it. So 3.5%. I showed you that selling pressure lies above this line, but we do have a bit of a reset on a monthly basis for the momentum. And we go to a weekly basis, we're at 58 right now. So we have plenty of momentum to run before we get into that overbought territory like we saw on the monthly chart going back to December, January, February. So I think we're in a lot better shape here. We do have that gap to fill. I don't want to ignore this gap that we have all the way back down to what is the 200-day on this. 200-day actually is sitting at 491 right now. So that gap going down pretty far for us, and it exists all the way up to 501. We'll watch and see what we get. Now, something else. Now, this last part's a little bit of a dream here, but I want you to picture this in terms of positioning and how it might play out. Over here on this side, looks a little bit like a shoulder. This part right here could be a big old head on that thing. Imagine that we come out to all-time highs up here again, that we retest it, that we retrace a bit and then come back up and get a massive inverse head and shoulders pattern. What would that mean in terms of a price target if we get that inverse head and shoulders pattern? And I know some of you guys get upset when I start to dream like this, but I am a dreamer and I'm going to stand by being a dreamer. So imagine that the shoulder starting all the way back in December of last year, and then the next shoulder starting, well, what could be next week? Honestly, next week, new all-time highs for the NASDAQ 100. Why the heck not? We have the 20 almost crossing the 200 anyway, so this boy can dream, so let's hear that dream. There we are, and we'll let those refresh for just a moment. My computer being a little bit slow on this Friday. Maybe I am too. And one more bounce. There we go. So what does that mean? This would be the neckline right up here, right at about 540. So if I go up here and I grab a trend line for us, and I'll turn off the magnet because that's just going to mess us up. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom of this thing, and I'm going to go all the way to what would be the neckline. Now, mind you, this is not an inverse head and shoulders, but I'm saying that there is a story to tell where we would actually have that sort of interest, and I am highly interested in that story because, friends, it's Friday. Let's talk about good things. Let's celebrate a darn good week in the markets here, and I will grab the price note, and I'm going to click it right up here for you. Guys, $679 for QQQ from right now, which is at 521. That's $150 up. That's about a 30% climb. I don't know. Things would have to be pretty darn favorable. And I might have to make another video about dreaming up the circumstances of which that would happen. And now, here they are. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what they are because I've talked about these for months now in my videos about the 4 pillars that it takes to prop up markets. Imagine that we have shiny, highly polished GDP, so a very robust GDP, that we have easy monetary policy, subdued inflation, and a strong labor market. Imagine that we just can't break that story, that we keep on talking about any sort of weakness and stuff that's come out. Imagine that the tariff news just went off the chain because all these tariffs that we thought were coming, that 10% baseline tariff that we would have going on just broadly throughout the world from the United States. Imagine that all of that just kind of melts away and deals are made and everything's fun and happy. Maybe that's that story. I don't, oh gosh, 30% is a huge climb from where we're at right now. Now, mind you, we've made climbs. I don't know how many times in history we've done climbs like that. I have to go back and look. This is definitely getting to a lot of speculation, a much longer video. But once again, let this boy dream if you would, please. So just imagine that inverse head and shoulders, though. Imagine how massive and exciting that would be. We would be partying. The punch at the party would just be flowing. And all right, let's move on into, let's get into the SPY here. So back over to SPY. There we go. How far away from all-time highs for SPY? Take a quick guess. Say out loud. Say higher or lower than the 3.5% that we saw from QQQ. So SPY tracking the S&P 500 SPX. If you actually want to look at that one, we are from the peak less than 3.5%. It's actually 3.55%. This is 2.89%. We are under 3% away from the all-time high for the S&P 500, and that's with the tariff news that are back. So maybe that means that we're a little bit of euphoria going for us right now. We actually aren't quite. We're almost at overbought territory for SPY, lagging a little bit behind what we saw with the Qs. I said about outperformance for IWM today. We'll take a look at that too. Look at the monthly chart real quick for SPY from where we're at right now. And what you'll notice is we don't actually have that same selling pressure type look that we had for the Qs. Boom, there we go. Stretch that out for you, expand it out. We do have some selling pressure that's up here, but we were actually able to close right around 600. So it looks like maybe that next percent is going to come our way pretty darn easily. But anything above that 600, we could be reluctant to hold it. We're not too far away from those all-time highs. Be nice to see those come in, and that all-time high that we'd be retesting is 611.39. I said before, I think 609.83 was that number that we needed to sit on top of. We couldn't sit on top of it. I said, well, if we sell below that, it's probably going to get pretty ugly. With the tariff stuff, I can imagine just how ugly it got for us. But honestly, I want to be serious for one. Enough of the dream stuff, just a little bit of the caution that's out there. Watch out for the double top. because that double top that we get is a pretty powerful thing. And seeing that happen, as a matter of fact, even be sort of kind of near for the Qs, at least a triple top that we'd be getting, which is a hugely bearish thing. Now, news sometimes aligns with market technicals. We'll see what happens, but I will say I expect some sort of retracing to happen. I'm sure the day traders are going to be absolutely ready to go for the moment that line is touched and that orders are going to be filled and that we're going to be going selling back down. Just a little bit of retracement at least before taking it back on and blasting through resistance if we're finally going to do it and put out new all-time highs. Who would have known from just a couple weeks ago that's where we'd be? Just going back to April, that's where we would end up as near new all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at IWM. Because for IWM, we actually had, like I said, that outperformance closing about, I think it was 0.84% above, 8.83% above yesterday. S&P was 0.63, and then Qs were 0.44. So a little bit better performance, but we still are down below the 200-day. We still have about 3% to go in order to get there. Now, just because I did it for the Qs and the SPY, I'll also do it for IWM, which, mind you, there's a shoulder, there's a head. Imagine we get another shoulder over there and blast through resistance. Maybe we'll see some circumstances for that. That would, once again, be absolutely massive. That neckline looks like 209, 210 is about ripe for that, by the way. We don't need that, though. We could sell up above it. We'll have to watch and see. But if we do happen to dip and come back up, then you'll hear me talking about it again, because that would be pretty incredible to watch and see and definitely overdue. So click on the ruler tool here. And let's find the close. The close is at 209.85, so make sure I got that. Go up to the peak that we had over here. We are 16% down from peak till from the peak that we had back in November 25th of 24, all the way until today's close, down about 16%. So really underperforming what we had for the NASDAQ 100 and for SPY. Keeping my eyes on it, though, because I think that this is due for some outperformance, even bigger than what we just got today, that when it is time for this one to shine, I think it's going to outshine both the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500. So, NVIDIA. This is the 4-hour chart for NVIDIA, and man, NVIDIA is looking pretty ripe. Look at the bears holding the top right around 136, pushing the bulls back down. But the bulls, can you see this on your chart? The bulls are consistently gaining some ground on the bears. That pressure coming up next week, we could have a run in NVIDIA next week. We have one more full week until their earnings. Their earnings aren't until Wednesday, though. On Wednesday, May 28th, 29th is GDP. And then the 30th is personal income and outlays. I told you it's going to be a huge week, that last week of May. And I'm looking for that $143 price tag coming out for NVIDIA in the run-up to earnings. We'll see if we get it. That's not too far north of where we're at right now. About $8 north of where we're at right now. So that's, we'll say, 6 to 8% above. It's been pretty decent so far since I talked about that ascending triangle pattern that we had. And we had that breakout back here. And that breakout was on Wednesday, May the 7th, and then we just, blast off above that. It took a few days to settle in order for us to get there, but by the time we got to May 12th, this week, as a matter of fact, was that rocket ship that we took that's sending us up quite a few percent for NVIDIA. Tesla up in its area of resistance, maybe showing us on an intraday level a little bit of a double top. We have to close above 352. So far, we haven't done it. We came within 20 cents of the top of my price resistance area that's on here. And you'll notice that we also came down here to this Fibonacci extension level that we have right down here at 336. That was yesterday. Made it down to the bottom of that resistance area today. Good, solid technicals ready to go for you. And you guys can find these technicals and my analyses and my buys and sells, as well as the other panel experts, by using the link down in the description for the Discord. Sign up for the earner tier. You can use code word DOCTOR, DOCTOR. That's going to save you 50% off your first month. Try it out. See what you think. I think you're going to find yourself staying for quite a long time just because of the sheer amount of opportunities that you'll find over there, the tools that are available to you, the community that's there supporting you. It is absolutely just an incredible place to be, full of positive community members, all working towards financial freedom and building alpha in our portfolios. By the way, there's coursework down in the description too through Stock Moe Academy. Stock Moe is a personal friend of mine. We worked together for 7 years in education. I have 17 years now in education with my earned doctorate, master's degree in instructional technology. I vetted his courses between what I know from education, my passion for finance, and I can tell you they are tight. They are solid. Code word DOCTOR is going to work for those as well to give you a discount. And then if you bundle the courses, that gives you even more of a discount. Guys, let's get back into the charts here. because I want to finish things up by talking about crypto. Bitcoin on the hourly chart, man, we got this neckline that we're trying to fight for, this small, very short-term inverse head and shoulders. If we can get above these two lines that are streaking across your screen here, there we go, right through the middle of this circle. They look almost like diameters of the circle. If we can fill out that inverse head and shoulders. Now, mind you, there's question mark here because it's still in question. We haven't broken the neckline and held on to it. We need to do that to confirm it. If we do, that puts us up to 107, which is right at the top of this area of resistance that you see here. And I also said with this flag, put this out over at the Discord, absolutely necessary to regain support at this bottom ray that's going across your screen here. Neckline's up above that, right around 104,000 per BTC. We need to solidly sit on top of that. So far, we haven't done it. We had it, let me see, Tuesday, we had it just for a little bit, sold off, haven't regained it since. Got to sit on top of it. Volume support would be helpful for us. This is the hourly chart. If we go out to the daily chart, I'll reset the view here, and we're also going to take down the technical so they're out of our way for a moment, because that is a decent look that we have, almost a little bit more of a bull pennant. On the downside, we're a little bit high on the RSI. We want to be watchful for that. We want to push up above that. But if we do capture that, that can put us up to 113,000 per BTC. If we can get through that area of resistance that happens to be up above, I have the rectangle there for you. And that also aligns with our price target at 107.15. 109.356 is the all-time high that we had on this chart for Bitcoin. Sitting on top of that is even better. So if we can get that 113,000 per BTC from this most recent pattern on this most recent run, that's something that can really help us out in terms of setting that new all-time high. We'll watch and see. XRP still fighting the good fight, trying to hold on to 236. SUI, still trying to hold on above its 20-day. We have the 50. Check this out. The 50-day creeping up on the 200-day. The momentum dropping on us a little bit. Now, mind you, it's still in bullish territory. We do want to see support hold at the 20-day. We want to see the 50 cross up above the 200. Staying above these moving averages is a bullish thing. 50 crossing over the 200. That's a golden cross. If that gets sniffed out, my price target on here of $4.97, so almost $5 per SUI token, it's going to be huge. So guys, there's a lot of things to be hopeful about in the markets. I do think that it's very possible that in the month of May that we retest all-time highs for the Qs, for the S&P 500, that we start to see continued movement for IWM. NVIDIA, I think it can run. Tesla might settle a little bit, but if it can get on top of 352, it might start its next run, and we see further upside for Tesla. Bitcoin's got its work cut out for us. It needs to get on top of that trend line that I had on there. One of the rays, if you go back and watch my older videos on Bitcoin, I talked about it. I think the title said something like, it's been in front of us the whole time, I think was the thumbnail, or it's been in plain sight the whole time, something along those lines. I'm telling you what, Bitcoin does have that potential, but it has to get back on top of that trend line. We want to see that inverse head and shoulders play out over the next few hours. That'd be a great thing. Send us up to 107. Sitting on top of 104 is absolutely critical. And then I think that's also going to help those altcoins run. Like I said, guys, my analyses, there's a crypto Will over there who does so much more with crypto than I do. Like, the guy just has a ton to offer. And then there's other panel experts over there as well. Stock Moe's over there, live trading. There's the bread bot that tells you when the big moves are coming for crypto, stocks, you name it, AI tools, advanced charting tools. 50% off your first month. Links in the description. Come on over and join us. Same thing for that coursework. You can save a ton of cash by using code word DOCTOR for either one of those things. Code word DOCTOR on the courses, going to give you a massive discount, and bundling the courses saves you even more. Guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.